It's very interesting how this has turned out and how I was able to figure this out. Now, I don't know how to predate A and show you guys everything from Armin, Armageddon to Adam. And what I mean by that is trying to connect all these pieces to show you guys like history, telephone poles. When did we get electricity? When did they start doing underground plumbing? All of that, markers in time, all of it. And so what I wanted to show you this flag, and I believe that this is the one that they were talking about that was raised in 61 in protest of the Civil War, or at least some nature. But if you go over to here, you can actually find the design. Where'd you go? This one right here. And you can find the design, count the stars and know where it's at. So the other one I want to show you guys is how I was able to figure this out too, is by construction and understanding what it takes to actually do all this stuff. Okay, so they messed up. I don't whoever put these pictures out, they messed up because I was able to figure this out. So if we go into here, like I said, you just got to mark stuff and start figuring out time. Because here you can see where they have the Denver Theater. Then if we pull it back out and come back over here, that's the Denver Theater. And you can see, this is what I'm talking about, early construction, okay? This is how they had to move machinery and everything until 1870 when they actually got the train. Until then, this was the only modes of transportation. And I went over in my last video how long it would actually take to walk 24 hours to Denver, Colorado from Kansas. And that's would have been your major hub that would have been coming into Colorado. And it was the biggest city. So everyone would have been coming through Kansas. And so the other one I want to show you guys is the cracks in history. They said that there was 2 fires that raged through Denver, Colorado, and there's so many. Salida also had a fire to cover up some of their sins, but they did it, and that's what I'm going to show you guys. There was no fire, especially going through and tracing these buildings, and you can see what they built at the time. Here they're building a brick building. They have all the piles of blocks. So imagine taking all of this block by horse and wagon, plus you got to feed and take care of the horses. It's not like a car where you just drive it every day and come home and then that's the end of it. These are animals. You have to take care of them. So you have to feed, water them, and if they get sick, so that makes even doing construction 10 times harder. And so I said I would connect all of this. And I'm going to tell you right now, a lot of these photographs that you have to really take a look at, they have been altered. Why would you alter historical photographs from a published historical website? And so I wanted to show you guys my first wood cabin. I've been talking about it, but this is basically it. And this is what they're saying. This was the Rocky Mountain News. And what I want to show you is when I was looking at this, 2 trains daily each way. So in order to complete what they were talking about, imagine all the material that would have been loaded up, plus agriculture, plus goods and services, and your cattle industry, and your steel industry, all of that being shipped all over at once into Denver, Colorado. And Denver would have been the first stop because that would have been the major hub coming from until they got a line going from Kansas City to Denver. So they would have had to go through Cheyenne. So not only that, Cheyenne's being built. And if there's only 2 trains coming in daily, there's no way they could have built what they did. And here's actually the first building, I believe, of the Rocky Mountain News. So these older photographs, how I was able to figure out how old they are is by this circle in it. These show the oldest photographs. And you can see here, like they built most of this stuff up on stilts. Was this a floodplain or was this a lake that dried up? I mean, you have to ask yourself questions like that. I mean, but you got stairs, so I'm assuming this is for flooding. Understanding construction and time and marking buildings out. This building right here, this castle, this church, I'm assuming, is what this is. This was built in Denver. This is a marker in time, along with the Wolf's Hall School and also the First East School. Those are all markers to start, place, and time. Another one that I noticed through all of our construction history is this telltale right here of brick buildings where they put this slash apostrophe in the archway. And I've seen that in many buildings from Pueblo to Colorado to Denver to Colorado Springs. They all similarly have it. So there was a design build and we kept advancing. So that's the thing, is you have to tear down this stuff, rebuild new, rebuild new. This castle is the only thing I could find on this picture that shows it. There's no documentation of it, but it is definitely in the photographs in Denver's history. Why is this not documented? This is a very spectacular building. And why put all of these points on it? I mean, what was the point of that? Was it for electricity? Well, here's an interesting deal that I'm going to try to enlighten you guys on. This tower right here was a lighting tower. And I went through and I was reading history on electrical, and they were talking about these lighting towers, how they were proposed as an idea but never followed through, basically. And there might be other documentation, but that's the other stuff. All this history I've been reading, it's all like there's loopholes in it. It's like everything has a conflicting story. And so you can trace these buildings, and this one right here is the school, and then there's the Wolf Hall, and you can start placing them. And like I said, in Pueblo, Colorado, I went through it at first, and I tried to help people understand that there's no way you could come in the matter of time that you had. And the neat thing about Pueblo is they had a flood in 1921, so it shut off Salida, Canyon City, all of it when that happened until they got the railroad reopened up. And then they were going through the Moffat Tunnel for the most part, so Colorado was bypassed. They tell you in the flood. But how long does it take to put in telephone poles? When did they get telephones? 1880? So how is it Colorado and all of these streets later have lights on them? And you look at the time Colorado got lights. Look, I'm a construction guy. I got a funny story for you on this one. This is the Ameristar Hotel, and I've been through the other photographs. Look at all the trees and stuff that are now here, and I'm going to show you like the absolute, the bullshit with the global warming, because we've had more trees and stuff. Back then, all you had was dirt, it looks like, and so many trees have developed over the years. But the funny story about this is, I guess they used too much dynamite when they were blowing the rock out the mountain in order to get so they could build this hotel. And I showed up after this had all happened, but everybody on the job site was talking about it. So I'm assuming that the story's true. But when they blew it, there was a piece of chunk of a rock that went through one of the walls, and I believe it was the office of the manager or some weird stuff like that. Well, anyway, the other problem with this is when they did blow it, they used too much dynamite and they fractured the mountain. And so, from what I understood, they had to drill and put rods in it in order to, keep it from, basically crumbling. Now, if that story's true, I don't know. But I'm just telling you things that I know. I do know that they used way too much dynamite in this one. Okay, so Colorado, I don't know why. God's just funny in the way he is. What he had me go through my entire life to figure all this out. I have been all over this state and other states. And like I said, there's nothing in here to use except for stone and some pine wood. And I showed you what a pine wood cabin looks like at the beginning, the first Rocky Mountain News. Doggy daycare. I was an electrician on that job site too. One of the oldest buildings. If you go into my files, it'll show you the oldest buildings in Denver, Colorado. And I happened to work on that job site. Out of all the job sites in Denver to work on, I worked on that and the Ameristar. So like I said, when you start piecing time together and start looking at all of this, you can see where to mark stuff, how to mark it. And this is so very important because what is patriotic? It's love for our country, isn't it not? I have no love for the government of our judicial system because it is absolutely beyond corruption, and what we lost is beyond comprehension. Okay, so like I said, the first active demonstration on the flag was right here.